Hey, what's going on? I hope that you were able to see a part one where I was talking to sellers about the whole National Association of REALTORS lawsuit that is being settled, or they're trying to finish settling it. Where we currently stand, from my understanding, is that it's been presented to a judge to settle this whole thing. National Association of REALTORS has denied any wrongdoing, but in order to move forward from this, they settled to make a substantial payment over the next 4 years, and then also make some changes to the way that we operate as MLS members of the National Association of REALTORS. So I had some information. I really think if you own a home, you're considering selling, or if you wanted some other perspective on how this may affect sellers moving forward, I greatly encourage you to go see part one. I'll try to link it in the caption here. But also too, I wanted to speak to buyers, because this probably is going to affect you just as much as it will affect sellers, just in a different way. So for us, if you're not aware, basically the National Association of REALTORS have agreed to make a few changes in the way that we operate. We will, from now on, the compensation for the buyer's agent is typically listed in the multiple listing service, and buyer's agents see that before they go and show a house most times. And I could see potentially how that created an issue. Maybe some people were steered toward those that would pay a little bit more. I could see how that may have become an issue, but that wasn't the focus of the lawsuit. At this time, y'all, the market is changing. There's a lot of things that are happening right now. We're seeing some prices drop. All these things are affecting you as a buyer, or potentially affecting you as a buyer if you decide to come into the market. I know for a lot of people, money is tight right now. Everything costs more. Expenses are up. Interest rates are up for people that are buying houses. The cost of the house is up. And also too, following that are down payments that will be higher and things like that. All of that spells for tight wallets and emptier pockets, which is scary for anybody. Of course, if you're making such a large monumental purchase, of course that brings some concern, and rightfully so. So I would just like to bring up a few things that I think you should think about moving forward. These things have not gone into effect yet. If the judge approves, this will be July of 2024 that we'll start to see these changes. As a little backdrop, I have never, one of the things that will be required is a written agreement between the buyer's agent and the buyer. So that's before I can represent you. I don't know exactly when in the process that is, maybe upon first meeting, but at some point we're gonna have to establish a relationship. And this is something that NAR has pushed for years. A lot of brokers say that this is the best way to go about things, and I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I've never done it because it is a little bit of an awkward conversation to have. It does give clarity as far as how we will operate in this relationship, in this arrangement as your agent. There are things in it that they're not conversations that I was ready to have at the time. If these things come about, we will have to have these conversations, and the agreements are in depth. So for one, it's an interesting time, because we're going to have to do a great job as agents to inform you exactly what's in this agreement and how it could potentially affect you. I've always encouraged people to shop around. Okay, so for me, it doesn't change a whole lot. I don't ever want anybody to just settle on me as an agent just because you know me or you've heard that I've done good things. I think it's super important, this being possibly the largest purchase of your life. You should be extremely comfortable with whoever it is that you're working with. That way, the journey of buying a house is enjoyable. So even people that I know well, family members, I encourage everybody, hey, if you want to talk to another agent, it's not going to hurt my feelings. I would rather be in a good light with you forever. You may refer me to somebody else. If we come in and we just don't mesh well, or something simple, hey, this just didn't go the way I expected, maybe I sour our relationship and you end up with the, sour taste in your mouth, and then you don't refer me out or something like that, or anything. I just want for the most part, I want your process of buying a home, because it's so gray and it's such a heavy decision. I want it to be as enjoyable as possible for you. So I've always encouraged shopping around. The one thing that you're going to want to make sure that you do moving forward is have a clear understanding of what you sign before you sign it. This is something, of course, buyer's agreements have been going on for years. This is nothing new, actually. None of the things that NAR is settling on really is anything new, but it just may be a requirement now. So before you sign anything from anybody, as I say to everybody, make sure you have an understanding. All right, it's a scripture that I love, and all you're getting is get an understanding before you sign anything. Once you have settled on an agent, this is who I want to work with. Don't be afraid to enter into that agreement with them, with making sure that you have clear understandings in that agreement, because the agreement is between you and the broker, and that agent is representing the broker. So I always make sure that you are clear on those things. Now, when these forms are filled out, more than likely you'll see a portion that says if sellers won't pay the amount specified in the agreement, then you as a buyer will be subject to pay the difference. I know that's kind of scary, that's kind of spooky. You want to make sure that you're very clear on that, so that when you get to the closing table, there's no expectation. Even when you're showing the house or going under contract, you know exactly who's paying who, how much you're expected to do. If it's something you can or can't do, you want to have those conversations up front, of course, with your agent. So you'll see in there, of course, there's a portion that talks about compensation or commission, and basically most buyer's rep agreements state that the agent will seek to get their payment from the sellers. Right, because it's just a cleaner way to do all these things. They'll seek to get that from the sellers, but if not, if there's a less amount than what's agreed upon in the contract, it can be more than what you agreed upon in your buyer's rep agreement. But if it's less, then you're going to be you could possibly be sought out for that difference. And y'all, it's not easy being a buyer's agent. There's a lot on the line to get you from not even house hunting, to get you from approval to closing, even post-closing. There's a lot that goes into being a buyer's agent. A lot of people think that, hey, I don't really need the agent, and it's going to be very tempting to you to forego an agent, because sellers are becoming more aware of their rights. Now, they've always had the rights, but sellers are becoming more aware of their rights in paying commissions. With this whole thing exploding all over social media and the news and things like that, some people may decide, hey, I don't want to pay a buyer's agent. A buyer will need to pay their own agent, and it can be very tempting to forego the buyer's agent. You have that right. You do have that right. One of the first things that was taught to me in real estate school is that everything is negotiable. Right? You have the right, you have the option to go without an agent. I just think that you should consider greatly what that means. Now, during your home search, agents, as I said earlier, won't know in advance whether or not they will be getting paid by which party, and so some of that may affect the way houses are shown. You may decide only to see houses where the buyer's agent will be paid by the seller. You may decide, I'll look at them anyway, and then we'll have the discussion later. All those things are negotiable. You always have the right to negotiate. You have the right to negotiate the buyer's rep agreement. You have the right to negotiate with the seller. You have the right to negotiate anything. You have tons and tons of rights. Don't feel like you have to walk into anything. But the agent, I as an agent have a right as well. Like, I have a right to say, look, I'd love to represent you. I can't do this for free. I've got to be paid a certain amount. I feel like I'm worth this amount. I feel like my time and effort, boom, everything that I do, and hopefully they'll list out to you all the things that they have to do, so that you can kind of see from a distance, because it is difficult to see and understand how much goes into this until you have actually walked through a contract. Or walk through the home buying process. And even still, I try my best to shield my buyers from some of the things that they should experience if they didn't have an agent. Now, I know that this can kind of create a kind of grim or gray outlook on home buying because of all the fees and potential cash that it would require for you to bring to the table. I want to also at the same time, push out a little hope because all these things are change. These things are changes, but they may not necessarily change how we operate. We may go about things differently. Sellers may see the light and say, "No, everybody needs representation in this, so that we don't have any issues long term, or try to cut down as many issues as possible." Prices may come down, in which turn interest rates may come down. There may be also, like some creative ways and solutions to these issues. So if you are wanting to buy a house and you're kind of concerned about all these things, y'all, I love to educate people. I love to shed light. I try not to give too much, but I love to shed light on these topics so that you don't do the same thing that I did when my wife and I bought a house and kind of felt my way through the dark and bumped my head and stubbed my toes on a lot of different things in this process. I would love for you to go to the link in the caption if you would like to reach out to me and talk about these things in depth. If you have questions, you can put them in the comments. I'd like to open up a discussion about these things. I'd love to hear your thoughts and get your feedback on the changes from the buyer's perspective. And let me know any of the concerns that you have so that I can address them later on. Like I said, put those in the comments, share this with people that you know, and I hope we get a chance to talk about this even more. The great thing about all of this situation is that I get a chance, along with other agents, we get a chance to bring clarity to the situation, which was the first thing that was taught to me. My job was to bring clarity to the situation, not even just contracts, but how our relationship is supposed to operate. So I look forward to hearing your comments, hearing your questions, and talking about this more as the months go on. Thank you. And I've got one more part, right? I want to talk to us as agents as well, to put some thoughts out there and get your feedback as well. So if you don't mind, look for part 3 and share this with somebody. Thank you.